Hey there, e-bike fans. It's been a while since I've been able to go ahead and do one of these videos, so I'm super excited that I finally get to go ahead and start sharing some of the stuff that I've just accumulated over time about the e-bike industry, what's going on. In this segment, we're going to be seeing things about money-saving news on e-bikes, fun facts, national news that's out there, some of the innovations that have happening over the last few months in the e-bike industry. Some you may know, some you might not, and just fun type of things that are out there. The latest e-bikes that we've been coming across, other rumors about the industry, motors and safety issues, and even touch on some new bike launches that are coming out as well. So I just want to go ahead and just dump on you all of this stuff that I accumulate, and there's you're the best people to share out there because you kind of share the passion of the industry out there. So let's get started on this next e-bike news industry segment. All right, so the first thing we're going to start with is money-saving tips, and the one thing, or money-saving news actually, that's been coming out about this. And a lot of us have already heard about the 30% proposed tax credit that was kind of been proposed in the past, a few months ago. And Electric came out with a great article saying that there's more support that's been gaining on this now. Some of the few things I wanted to touch about the tax credit, because a lot of people have been asking about it since we first heard about it earlier in the year, is what do you get for it, and what are they going to try to put out there? So the first thing is that it's a 30% tax credit for bikes that are under $8,000, but you got a max cap of $1,500. So to really maximize this credit, you'd be looking at spending $5,000 on a bike. Then you'll get a $1,500 credit back on it. But there are some rules that are beginning to be added to this, and some things that you should be aware of if you're looking forward to perhaps waiting for the news of what this is going to be helping you out in. So first of all, just know that it's going to be kind of limited to class 3 bikes. And first, that's the one thing that seems very clear. Federal government has already made certain rules about what class 1, 2, and 3 are that they classify these bikes, and they're not going to allow anything above a class 3 so far from what we're seeing, which means you're going to have a max speed of 28 miles per hour, and you're not going to be allowed to have a motor more than 750 watts. Now, I don't know if that's nominal or peak, but basically, if the motor is stamped 750, you're probably going to be okay. So that's probably going to be nominal. And that was one of the reasons, actually, when I was looking for my bikes, or when I was doing my research on, I decided I wanted to stay within that 750 watts since there was already regulation in place. A lot of states didn't have rules on it, and I just kind of figured that's where they'd be going. So just keep that in mind. A 750 watt nominal power motor is approximately what you're going to be wanting staying at max if you want to take advantage of this credit. And of course, don't know what the future holds, but this is what I'm speculating at this point in time about this this opportunity that we're going to get to perhaps get some income or some tax credit back. Now, this is not a tax deduction; it's actually a tax credit. So you'll get the $1,500 back in total, as long as you hit the qualifications. Also, the bike can't be more than $8,000. So if you're going to get a bike, try to stay below that, I guess, is one thing that you want to probably look at to take advantage of also the credit. So getting a $10,000 bike and thinking that you're going to get $1,500 is not really going to qualify for that bike. So keep that in mind. And again, this is all preliminary right now. It's in the being reviewed by the House Ways and Means Committee at this point, and there's 16 other representatives already co-sponsoring this. So if you want to help out, get this moving forward, call your representative and let them know to support the e-bike act that's coming out on that. So the other thing that's cool is that California also is now coming up with its own tax kind of credit or incentive. They're calling the e-bike incentive bill. Now, there's not a lot of information on this. It seems really, really vague, but it just says that someone is moving forward and actually trying to perhaps get a bill moved forward that will get some incentives. The only thing I could get really out of this so far is that it's going to look like it's going to help incentivize maybe lower income people who can't afford the e-bike, but they know that e-bikes are actually going to be a great way for transportation for people of some that can't afford bikes at this time. So that's going to be something that they're going to be looking at. I think it's like you have to be below 80% of the standard income, or medium income out there. So that's one thing that's going to be passed. But what this is all telling me is that the governments are beginning, or our government is beginning to look at e-bikes as a very, very huge part of our transportation system to be added. So we may see even better bike paths out there, money being moved to that. And it's just pretty cool to think. But it also could create something about more shortages that might be something to also think about. So keep that in mind. That's one thing that we're going to be talking about a little more down the news segment as we move forward. I'll have all of the links to these different web pages that I'm showing about that talks about, the different e-bike and the bills that we have coming out there. Okay, now to the fun fact segment, we have something from Forbes. This is an article that came out a few months ago, I think back in December, 2020. But it's talking about the growth of the industry of what we have. And one thing that caught my eye is that they're expected in annual sales of 10 million e-bikes per year in the year 2024. And that's, think about 10 million e-bikes being sold. They just basically are predicting that the demand is just going to go absolutely insane. They're talking 17 million at the headlines here, but in just 2024, which is just 3 years out from now, we're already going to be looking at 10 million potential bikes being sold globally. So like I said, the supply chain is going to probably get strained even more as we hopefully actually things get back into play where everything starts to work out okay. And speaking of supply chain, I guess we'll talk about that a little bit more, but there's a great video that came out from court when he's talking to I guess the owner or the company Dost, and the problems that they're seeing out there. And it's things that we've mentioned in the past, that bikes are getting more expensive, but also with all of the stimulus checks that we've been sending out there and the amount of spending our government has been doing, our dollar is getting weaker, so that's also increasing prices. There's a whole bunch of things that we have to think about when you're looking at bikes. So those of you that are looking for bikes or an e-bike now and doing your research, just keep in mind, sometimes sooner is better than later. Even with the tax credit, who knows when that tax credit is actually going to be put together. It may not be till 2022 is what some people have estimated on, but at least some incentives are being moved forward. Okay, some other things that's been happening around our nation. So Son just launched a bike called the Rockstar, and there are some stores that actually had it. And there's a guy who runs Ebike USA in Denver, and somebody wanted their bike so bad of the Rockstar. This is a picture of a U-Haul truck going through the front window of this bike store. There's actually, if you look on YouTube and you do a search for, I guess just look for USA or ebikes USA, and maybe break-in or thieves, you'll find some videos on this actually showing the truck smashing through, two guys getting out trying to steal the bikes, not realizing that the bikes are all chained in the store. And they tried, and they didn't realize how heavy the bikes were, because then there's the videos that you actually see, they try to pick it up, they can't do it, and they actually leave without any bikes. And thankfully, Ebike USA had some really kind neighbors and help that came out to go in and help clean up the store, and they're up and running really quickly. They did have quite a bit of bikes damaged from this truck, but they didn't get away with anything. And apparently what they're saying is that it looks like they were going after the Saunders Rockstar bikes, $3,000 bike, beautiful bike. And it just goes to show that, when people are getting desperate, they do some crazy things to try to get bikes out there. So let's talk about innovations in the industry. So the things that are happening that are actually moving the whole e-bike industry to get more exposure is there's a new company out there called Jocko Electric Bike Service that is going to be putting a bunch of bikes all around New York City. And what they're going to be doing is there's two companies actually. There's going to be one company called Jocko, J-O-C-O, and another bike called City Bike, C-I-T-I bike, and which is actually, City Bike is actually owned by Lyft. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be putting bikes all over, and you can pretty much just walk up, and it's $1 to unlock the bike and 25 cents per minute for the Jocko bikes. You can ride it around. And the Jocko bikes, what's interesting is that you can actually park them in the different private garages that they're going to have around New York City, and the bike will just recharge once it's docked back into those places. Now, City Bike has a little different business model. There's $3.50 to unlock their bikes. It's 18 cents a mile to ride them around. And I guess there's a truck that goes around and has GPS and picks up all the bikes and recharges them or replaces the battery for fresh charges as the bike gets left around in different areas. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. I mean, with these bikes that are going to be hitting out there in those prices, I can see that a lot of people will get a lot more exposure to e-bikes and want some. I mean, that's the thing. You ride one of these things and you fall in love with them, and that's also going to be pretty innovative. I wonder we're going to have these all over other cities and other towns in the U.S., and it'll be an interesting thing to actually monitor and see what happens with that as well. Other innovations that's happening in the industry. How about a e-bike that actually weighs only between 24 to 28 pounds? So Ribble has come out with this bike that's only 24 pounds at the lightest. Now, these aren't cheap. These are actually, obviously high performance bikes. The battery and the motors, everything's just integrated into the system itself. But they're all about making the bike light, fast, and something that just is going to be something that's people are going to love. You can't even tell it's an e-bike, but just beautiful. And it's these bikes are running between 3,500 to 10,000 depending which model that you're going to be looking at. Here's another picture of the Ribble, and it's beautiful. But like I said, they're only going to be weighing between 24 to 28 pounds. Now, Specialized has some really light bikes out there, but I think even their lightest mountain bikes run 38, 40 something pounds on the light side. So this is some pretty cool innovations that are happening. The bikes will be getting lighter, probably even faster. We'll see what happens with that, what's going on out there. Now, let's go ahead and talk about maybe some rumors that are out there. Now, these, again, the reason I call it rumors is because these are just kind of speculations again and things that we've been hearing about the industry. Somebody that I know had mentioned that Electric XP, take a look at their website. So I went and they said, look at the batteries that they're offering. They're now having 2 different batteries being shipped out. We're guessing based on supply, you're going to get either now Samsung cells at 48 volts with only 9.6 amp hours in it, and or 9.6 amp battery, and or the LG batteries that typically usually come with them with 48 volts and 10.4 amps. So this is something that's interesting because they are now swapping out smaller batteries. But, Samsung is supposedly higher rated. We'll see what that actually means. And I don't know if people are going to get a choice. It's just going to be based on what's available. So we are seeing, again, battery shortages that are beginning to happen as well. Or could this just be a cost savings place? The one thing that's been very interesting with the amount of volume that actually Electric does, they've been able to keep their prices down still at $899. That's crazy for the quality of the bike that is. I mean, I'm a big Electric fan, obviously you guys know that. It's been just amazing that they've been able to, while everybody else is raising their prices, they've still been able to keep it down. But you will see more and more people are swapping out components on bikes because they just can't get them. And I was talking earlier about Court talking about a video he just put out today that I saw, which is really interesting. And, on that video, I'll put the link to his video out here. But one of the screens that came up was that they talk about the lead times for all the different parts of the bike. And if you look, most of these lead times, they have to order it 300 days in advance before they're actually going to get a bike that's going to have stuff put together. And that's not uncommon now. In fact, there's some things that people are saying they have to order 2 years in advance. And I think like Tektro brakes and those type of other components down there. So we're either going to see swapped out components of things we don't know, or better components, which also means prices are going to be going up. And again, I highly recommend you watch this video because when he talks about e-bike shortages and price increases, and he's actually interviewing the owner of Dost, it's pretty interesting on the other side of it, of other factors, like where I talked about the container issues in the past as well. And that's still, the containers now cost 4 times to get a container from China to the United States than it used to. And that from $1,000 to $4,000, that's 4 times the increase in just shipping alone. And that's not even parts that have been going in. Plus, our dollar's been getting weaker, again, like I mentioned earlier. So we're having this whole ripple effect. Inflation is real. I don't care what anybody's saying out there, that is not really happening. We are seeing gas prices are going up even all over the place. I think in LA right now, we're almost close to $5 in some places, So, when I went to Cambria, if you saw my last video on our road trip out there, we paid $4.79 out there to fill up our tank, $4.79 a gallon. Pretty crazy. And that's for regular, just shows prices are going up. So again, it's great that we have these other incentives that are coming in, but nonetheless, we just also have to notice that we are getting, if you wait, prices could still continue to climb if things don't get better. The other thing that we're looking at as far as rumors go is that I've been hearing out there that some people are saying that the 750 watt Bafang motors and the 1000 watt Bafang motors. A lot of the manufacturers will tell you that these bikes will have a cap of 25 miles an hour. But most of them will say that they are ready to go 20 miles an hour. So what you'll get is you actually get more torque with more wattage. But they will actually stop the bike and they'll cap it at 20 miles an hour. Those are your typical class 2 bikes, or even class 1 or class 2, that they stop at that range. And of course, we all know that many of these bikes can be unlocked, and then so they have these max speeds of 28 miles an hour, which pushes these to the maximum wattage that the motors can handle. So a Bafang 750, like for instance on the Blackbird bike, can go up to 1300 watts when you add a 52 volt battery and a 25 amp controller. Put all that together with a 750 and a motor that can actually handle it, then you have these higher wattages that even though it's 750, the peak is 1300. Now, the thing is, Bafang will always say that their bike are rated to go at a peak of 25 miles an hour most of the time is where they'll cap it at. And they also say that they advertise that only going 20 miles an hour is where they really are saying that that's what the motor is made for, because that's your 750 and they won't ruin the motor out there. So what's been happening is people have been noticing when they're getting their 750s, and it used to be going 28 miles an hour on these bikes that were rated to do that, or were, secretly unlocked to go that fast. Even with the unlocking now, they're seeing that bikes are only going up to 25 miles an hour. And these are, I guess, newer things that are coming. And here's the rumor. The reason why that's happening is the factory has been told to go ahead, that makes the motors for Bafang, to bring down the capability not to go over the 25 mile an hour max, because Bafang has been worried about actually potentially all the warranty issues that they're going to come out when people are just maxing out their motors at 28 miles an hour. So they never said that their motors were made to go over 25 miles an hour, so they're bringing down that cap, and it can be overridden from what I understand. Again, this is just a rumor, but keep that in mind. You might be seeing some websites out there that are no longer advertising 28 miles an hour, and now you know why. Especially if they're using Bafang motors, they are now going to be potentially only coming out at 25 miles, and these are for more of the motors that have been coming out in the more recent fewer months. Now, that doesn't mean that all the bikes are going to have that. It's just, like I said, a rumor. But if you do see 25 miles an hour, keep in mind that is what's been going on with that. That potentially, if the rumors are right, the factories have been told, don't let the motors go over 25, just so that they can keep their warranties and not have to worry about burnouts for that happening. So, other than that, we have next what's going on with, I think what's always important is if we have an opportunity to share some safety things that are going out there. Brompton does recently, as of April 22nd, they had a recall. The U.S. government made them recall it because of an acceleration bug. On this article here, they're basically saying that the bike will just accelerate on its own without the owner telling it to accelerate. They didn't consider it as a major danger as far as Brompton when they were asked about it, and they are remedying it. So if you have a Brompton bike, just take it back to the dealer. They will do a software upgrade on the bike, and that will be able to take care of your problem for you. So that's just out there, and there aren't a lot of these bikes out there. I think there were only 600 sold in the US. So, but if you're one of these owners and you're watching this video and you have one of these bikes, you might want to go check up on this. Like I said, check out the article below, because there's certain models that are out there that will do it. Oh, also another thing is they are giving a $30 credit voucher as a gesture of goodwill, and that's what they're talking about as well. But these bikes are quite pricey at $3,500, $3,800. They're great bikes. Little small on the wheels, for my opinion, for me, but they're, again, something that you just want to keep in mind if you have one of these, because they fold up really small and they're really light for a folding bike. So it's pretty cool on how they have this whole setup done. Brompton bikes are pretty interesting bikes. So if you have one of these, again, get your bike checked to see if you're on the recall list, and get the software upgrade for your safety's sake. And the last thing, this is the most exciting part of this whole, why I was like, so excited to get this video out there, is because, for those of you who don't know, I did the review on the Aventon cinch, and I've been an Aventon fan for quite a long time, actually, from starting research, doing all my research. One is that you can find these bikes in local bike shops out there. Aventon does sell to local dealers. You can buy the bike at a dealership for the same price that you can get it online. But most of all, they've come out with a fat bike finally, because I've always thought Aventon has been a bike manufacturing company for a long time, and they build a bike as a bike first and then add it to make a really good motorized e-bike by adding the parts onto a well-designed bike. It's not like a bike that they just slap on parts and make things an e-bike, or design it around to be an e-bike first and then comfort second, or it's just one. They're also beautiful bikes. All the Aventon reviews that I've seen, or even the Aventons that I've tried and been up close to, the welding is something that's always stands out, is that you can hardly see the welds on them. The other is the way that the batteries integrate. Very well hidden amongst them. But the biggest thing that I just want to share is Aventon finally came out with the Aventure, and this is a fat tire bike. It's a 4-inch wide fat tire. And the other thing is, the only reason why I had stayed away, I really was considering getting the Aventon Level or a Cinch doing my research, but prior to I think it was April or March 1st, or prior to this a few months ago, they didn't have throttle on demand, which means that you'd have to pedal before your throttle worked. And I really wanted the bike to be able to start off right from a dead stop at a light by hitting the throttle, so it could help me get going, and I wouldn't have to wait for the delay of me going half a crank or a full crank before the motor kicked in. So I've avoided getting the Aventon's bikes prior to that, and now that they have throttle on demand right away, there's no delay anymore. Like most of the other manufacturers out there, you can get your power right off the start. One, Aventon bikes are powerful, but two, they just make great bikes, and they're fast. I mean, they actually advertise 28-mile-an-hour bikes on a lot of their models that they have out there, especially like the Level or the Pace 500. I mean, great bikes out there. So when they came out with the Aventure, you will see, if you do a YouTube search for Aventure, you'll see some fantastic review videos on the Aventon bikes, especially Adventures out there. Check out what's already come out by Citizen Cycle, and there's another gentleman that actually has, I think it's another half an hour or longer video on these bikes on there. But the step through, they came out with both a regular Aventure bike and also a step through bike. And for $18.99 for what you get, quality parts on them. I mean, this is a really awesome bike. Also, as a step through, it starts at sizes at 4'11" to 5. There's two different sizes. So for someone like me who's 5'5", a 4'11" size minimum means that I'll be able to fit this pretty easy. The other thing about Aventon bikes is they're very much more, the wheelbase seems closer together. Whenever you jump on one of them, it feels like it's almost a little small because you get a very upright riding position. And that is something that's really, it's a very lesser aggressive, but it's still a fast bike. But it's lesser aggressive than other bikes like the Blackboard. You're leaning forward. So if you have back issues, or if you have a little harder time riding with a lot leaning forward, you have hand issues and you just want a more leisurely ride, the Aventon bikes have that. The Level, the Pace, I mean, that's what they're kind of just made more for a commuter style. So this is the off-road, on-road commuter do it all. I mean, it's a killer bike. Like I said, this is probably a bike that I highly would be considering on my want to ride or want to own bike as well. The Level is also top of that list because I would like a road bike style that's fast as well. But this could do it all. I may just skip over because it's a step through. So just wanted to keep you in mind with that. Let me show you what the regular full bike looks like. It still has a kind of a mid drop that goes pretty low, and again, they have 3 different sizes for different. They have a sizing as well that you can take a look at a little lower on the page. But with 3 different sizes, I mean, what you definitely want to do is you want to try to see if you can find your local bike shops out there that actually have these in stock, and you can try them. That's what's, like I said, really cool about Aventon bikes. That means you also have servicing from your local shops if you can support them. And it doesn't cost any more to get one of these bikes from your local bike shop. So, I mean, I'd love to cover some of just really quick, I guess, some of the highlights of this Aventon bike would be that it's a 750 watt motor on the backside, powering it. And it also has a, let's go through what's on here so I don't even have to read off my screen here. It comes with fender. Oh, actually, some of these, the thing it doesn't come with a rack. So that's something you want to keep in mind. So 750 watt motor on there, 750 watt high capacity battery that's also a part of that. There you have your thumb throttle on the left, and it's up to 28 miles. So they're actually still saying that this bike's going to go up to 28 miles per hour, and it is not a torque sensor, but it does have pedal assist, which it's a $1,900 bike. You're going to have some pretty good power with that anyway. You don't necessarily need to have a torque. Me, I like a torque sensor, but that's that's just a little more of my my preference. You have 8-speed, 12 to 32 tooth, which is a great range. That's going to be on this as well. Again, 24 by 6 Kenda tire, 24 by 4 inch, 26 by 4 inch Kenda tires on there. Integrated lights that are actually in the tail light. That's going to be actually in the frame lower. I don't know if a pannier bag will actually cover that up, but it does light up when you click on or hit the brake. Again, fenders, it comes with a front suspension fork, 80 millimeters of travel, and that's big. That's huge. Even once you have a fat bike with 4-inch tires that's already absorbing a ton, to have the actual front fork just makes it just a more luxurious ride. The other thing is, this is one of the nicest displays I've seen. Citizen Cycle shows a very close up to this, how easy it is to use. There's no codes. It actually tells you if you want to change something, it's asking you, what do you want to change? And it's right there in front of you. So it's really, like I said, so awesome. It's one of the best looking riding opportunities out there for a fat tire bike. And this is going to give a lot of competition to a lot of bikes. The Rad Rover, for $200 more, I honestly think with the components that come on this bike, you definitely want to take a look at that, because it's just a great bike. I recently rode a Rad Rover. I'm going to be having a review of that, and you'll see, you just can't compare with something that's like what Aventon's being putting out right now. And I haven't even tried it. I just knowing all the components, I know that this bike is going to be completely just a leader in the industry for the fat tire 4-inch 26-inch bikes out there. So anyway, that kind of wraps up this segment of the e-bike news. If you like this type of style, or if you anything that you want to see or hear more of, by all means, please make sure you comment below. Give this a thumbs up. It'll help spread this on the YouTube algorithm, get more people to watch it. Also, don't forget to subscribe. I'm trying to get at least 1 to 2 videos out every week, and more of these news videos, because there was so much to go over that I didn't get a chance to go over some of the other stuff I wanted to go into, just to make sure that I keep this within a decent amount of time that's out there. But again, thank you guys all so much for your support. And oh, by the way, I just want to make a mention. ebikeproducts.com, we are going to be carrying cell phone holders like this. This is one of my favorite phone holders that'll go on the handlebars. We're going to be carrying this on the website. Keep an eye out. Again, subscribe down below and you'll get notifications on it. If you are on the email list, I will be sending out a notification with a coupon code for one of these. We don't know the price yet. We're just kind of figuring out. We just got them in, so we're trying to figure out what it's going to be looking like as far as our price point is going to be. But it's going to be definitely competitive with what's out there right now. And don't forget, if you have electric XP and you want a softer ride and you don't have a suspension seat post yet, we do have the red suspension seat posts still in stock, and they're going fast. So you might want to get those. We will be getting the black tops again, and also full silver, but those are still, we're getting supply chain issues here. I was told we get it by about this time, May or so, but it looks like it may not even coming into early June now. So just keep that in mind. My supplier doesn't even have it from the factory yet. So those are not, but we do have the red pulse. We have a limited supply. Once those are gone, it's just a matter of waiting for those silver and black ones, and that's all I'm going to be carrying next in those next load. So once again, thanks you guys all so much for your support. Thank you all for your commenting. If you have anything you want to comment about anything else in the industry, please let me know. Comment below, like it, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.